All right, today we're jumping into a story that's, wow, over 2,500 years old, and it's got a bit of everything. Family drama, a deep spiritual quest, and it even sets a huge legal precedent. This is the origin story of the single most serious rule for Buddhist monks. And believe it or not, it all comes down to one man and one very fateful decision.
So what is it? What's the one mistake a Buddhist monk can make that gets them kicked out forever? No second chances. Well, to find the answer, we've got to go way back. I'm talking back to the time of the Buddha, and we need to meet a guy named Sudinna.
Okay, so our story kicks off with this man, Sudinna. And listen, he's not just anyone. He's the son of a really wealthy family in a village called Kalindagama. I mean, this guy has it all, right? Comfort, high status, a family that adores him, everything you could possibly want. But then, one day, his entire world gets turned upside down.
What happened? Well, he heard the Buddha preach, and something just clicked. It was this massive aha moment. He suddenly saw his life, being a family guy with all the stuff and all the responsibilities. He saw it as a path of dust. That's the phrase used. It's basically an obstacle, something holding him back from the completely pure spiritual life he suddenly realized he needed. And this became his new mission. The holy life he wanted had to be absolutely perfect, totally pure, just like a polished conch shell, flawless. And in his mind, there was only one way to get there. He had to leave his old life behind completely. That was it. He decided, I have to become a monk. But of course, there's a catch, a big one. Back then, the Buddha had a rule. He would not ordain you unless you had your parents' permission. And Sudinna's parents? Oh, there was no way they were just going to let their only son walk away from everything. So he goes to them, he's very respectful about it, and he explains this deep, burning desire he has to leave the worldly life and seek enlightenment. And their reaction? Just complete and total heartbreak. You can just feel the depth of their love and, well, their attachment in what they say. To them, him leaving to become a monk, it's like a kind of death. It's something they just can't imagine, can't bear. So, of course, they say no, absolutely not. But Sudinna, he doesn't just give up. He asks a second time, and then a third time. And each time his parents are like a brick wall. They won't budge. It's the same heartbreaking no every single time. They're just completely stuck. So, what do you do when you're at a total deadlock like that? Well, Sudinna does something pretty extreme. He lies down on the bare floor of his house, and he refuses to eat or drink anything. And he makes a vow. He says, I will either die right here on this floor, or I will be ordained. That's it. Those are the only two options. Well, you can imagine what happened next. His parents were terrified they were actually going to lose him, so they finally gave in. Sudinna gets ordained, and he throws himself into the monastic life. Years go by. He's a really dedicated monk, but a crisis is brewing, and it's about to drag him right back into the world he fought so hard to leave. Okay, so there's this really awful famine that hits the whole region. Food is incredibly scarce. And Sudinna, he starts to worry about the people who support the monks, He's worried they're suffering. So, thinking about them, he makes a decision. He's going to travel back to his family's village because he knows they're wealthy and they can spare some food without it being a problem. So, picture this. He's on his alms round near his old home, and a servant girl is about to toss out some old, stale cakes. Sudinna, being completely humble, asks if he can have the food she was just going to throw away. And as she's putting these cakes into his bowl, she notices something. His hands, his feet, his voice. It's him. She immediately runs to tell his parents, your son is back. His parents are, of course, ecstatic. But for them, this isn't just a happy reunion. They see an opening. This is their second chance. A chance to get not just their son back, but the future of their entire family line. So his father pulls out the big guns. He tries to tempt him with the very thing he walked away from. He shows Sudinna these two giant heaps of wealth. One is gold, the other is silver. And they are so high you literally couldn't see someone standing on the other side. And he says, it's all yours, just come back. Come back to your old life. But Sudinna, he's a different person now. He's not even tempted. All those years of spiritual practice have totally rewired his brain. He looks at this mountain of gold and silver and tells his dad, this stuff, it's just a source of fear and anxiety. He even tells him he should just dump it all in the river and be free of the whole burden. Okay, so the money didn't work. His mom sees this,
And she shifts gears. She tries a totally new tactic. She's like, okay, fine, I get it. You're not going to stop being a monk. But then she pleads with him. If you won't come back, could you at least just give us a child, an heir, so our family line doesn't die out and so the king doesn't just take all our money when we're gone?
And just like that, Sudinna is trapped. He's caught in this impossible situation, right? On one side, you have his monastic vows. On the other, his duty to his family. And the decision he's about to make, well, it's going to have consequences that ripple out for thousands of years. Now, this is the most important part of the story. You have to understand that at this specific moment, there was no actual written down rule against what his mom was asking. So Sudinna, thinking, well, it's not forbidden, he agrees. He says, this I can do. And to give them an heir, he has sexual intercourse with his former wife. The second it's over, though, he's just crushed. An overwhelming wave of guilt and remorse just hits him. See, even though there wasn't a specific rule on the books, he knew. He knew he had just violated the entire spirit of what it meant to be a monk. He can't eat, he can't sleep, he gets sick and pale. He's just consumed by this guilt. And eventually he confesses everything to his fellow monks.
And once he confesses, the story just explodes. It spreads like wildfire. And not just among the monks. According to the scriptures, the news travels all the way up through the heavens. The gods are talking about it. The word is out. The monastic community, the Sangha, has been blemished. It's no longer pure. And, as you can guess, it's only a matter of time before this whole thing gets to the Buddha.
The Buddha's reaction, it is immediate, and it is severe. He calls Sudinna out with this incredibly intense and frankly graphic condemnation. He makes it crystal clear just how serious this is. He tells him that being bitten by a deadly viper would have been better, because that would only kill his body. What Sudinna did, he explains, harms his spiritual progress and will lead to a bad rebirth. And so, right then and there, because of what Sudinna did, the very first Parajika rule is created. The word Parajika, it means defeat. If you commit this act, you are considered defeated in your spiritual quest. The consequence isn't a punishment, it's more like a statement of fact. You are simply no longer a monk. And that expulsion is permanent. It is irreversible. Game over. Which, brings us right back to where we started. How does one person's failure become this foundational law that's lasted 2,500 years? Sudinna's mistake? It's so human, isn't it? It came from family pressure, from a moment of weakness, and yet that very personal failure became the bedrock of a moral code for millions. It's just a powerful reminder, I think, that sometimes the biggest, most enduring rules don't come from some grand, abstract idea. They're forged in the fire of one person's very real, very human mistake.